Hey guys, Juice Polydot here with another Sonic Adventure 2 Dark Story tutorial video for you. Today we're going to be going over Sand Ocean. This is the second mech stage in Dark Story, and in my opinion is the hardest one. There's a lot to go over. Platforms in this stage run on cycles, so we're going to be going over first cycle, second cycle, sand walking, and what happens when you fall behind. Real quick guys, if you do enjoy these tutorials, then make sure you hit that subscribe button and like the video. It means a lot to me. Links to my Discord and the Sonic Adventure 2 community Discord will be found in the description below. Alright, let's go. Right off the bat, what you would want to do in this stage, if you were playing it in the actual Dark Story, is you have to restart. Because the cutscene in this game still has the platforms moving for a part of it, and it would mess us up to try to speedrun it like that. It is still possible, but you might as well just go with a quick restart. Usually it takes less time than this too. Right off the bat, what we're going to do is we're going to do one of these jumps to get to the center here. I believe you have 3 or 4 frames to hit this. You kind of want to time it along with Eggman's footsteps. So after you get this jump, what we're going to do is we're going to go diagonal right and jump to that right there. And what we want to do is we want to go along the line. Yeah, we want to just do that. So once we make the first jump, we want to run along the white line, basically, for the platform that's extending out to the right and is slowly moving towards the middle. That way we don't have to wait for that extended platform to reach the middle before we jump to it. And you want to land right here on this platform with the arrows on it. We need to be careful not to stay too far to the middle, otherwise we're going to lose our speed once we go to the right. Which is why I say you want to like make your way to the outside before jumping. That jump is pretty much necessary whether you're going for first cycle or second cycle. But in order to get first cycle, you have to be very, very quick for these next few parts of the level until we get to the checkpoint. So what we're going to do now is we're going to just run straight forward and jump to the platform in front of us. Yeah, so as far as those platform cycles go, if you're a little bit slower here, you won't be able to run across them like I just did right there. But if you can, then that's perfect. As far as this part right here goes, as this thing is falling down, we just want to run forward and jump. But if we try to jump while it's falling down, there's an invisible wall there that will push us. The hitbox is still there as if the pillar was upright. So we have to wait till it actually changes its position and then run forward. Take out these enemies. And then for here, what we want to do is we actually jump on top of these jars and then jump over the fence so that you can hit the dynamite pack for the pillar that's over there. So what we're going to do for this part is we're going to jump on top of this pillar as it falls on top of us. A good visual cue for this is to wait until the tower stops bouncing from you shooting the dynamite packs. Have it start falling forward, and that's when you want to jump. I would jump onto the left side of it because there are a couple dynamite packs on a pillar on the platform that's on the top right of us. Usually you have to wait until you climb the stairs to take it out, but we want to take it out ahead of time if we want to make first cycle. If you don't aim for both of the dynamite packs at once and only hit one, that's okay too, because there's a backup strat for that, which just involves jumping before you jump off of this first pillar and aiming towards the right to hit the other one. You can still make first cycle like that. I'll show you now. Just like that. You saw how I actually didn't hit the 2 dynamite packs, but now I'll show you an example where I do. See how that time I was able to hit both dynamite packs in the same swing? It helps you approach this platform a little bit faster. And in my opinion, now this is kind of the toughest part of first cycle, because depending on what time you approach this checkpoint, jumping onto the carousel in the middle can be quite tricky. If you're approaching this area at an extremely fast pace, what we can do is we can jump to the platform with the arrows on the right and then jump to the moving platform as it's approaching the right. If you're on an average first cycle pace, you can jump to the spot in between the middle and the extended platform. And if you're on a slower pace, like you get a very low 36 checkpoint or a 35 checkpoint, then you're going to just jump straight to the middle and immediately start running towards the extended platform to hit the platform cycle. So I guess I'll show you examples of each. From there, while we're on this platform, what we want to do is we want to take out the dynamite packs on the pillar ahead of time. That way, when we get over there, it's already down for us. We can just jump from platform to platform. Take this turn pretty tight. Then we want to jump from here to here. Simple. Don't bother jumping from these two solid platforms. Jump onto the first solid one, then onto the moving one. You have to wait for this pillar to fall anyway after destroying the dynamite packs. So the time that it saves is close to nothing. It's not really worth it. I would say it's pretty easy to go for in second cycle because the first moving platform isn't moving against you. So your speed is actually good enough to make the jump. But when you're on first cycle, it really just isn't worth it. So now I guess what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to talk about Chao Box Jump. So in order to do Chao Box Jump, what we want to do is we want to run forward, and then maybe when we get around to that bullseye, we jump upright to the pillar. And then we jump right here to this platform with the Chao Box. Not too difficult. I would say the biggest thing for that jump is making sure that you just don't jump over the fence, because then you go straight into the sand. You also have to be careful about your angle while you're running on the pillar, because you don't want to lose momentum at the last second. You actually won't make the jump to the platform with the Chao Box on it. As soon as you hit the platform with the Chao Box on it, all you have to do is shoot the Chao Box and jump forward. It's best to take out the bomber beetle when you're ahead of time. Like, I want to say once you jump onto the platform with the Chao Box, that's probably the best time to start aiming towards that beetle. Otherwise, it's going to be a pain once you get around to the fact that he's dropping bombs. I believe that enemy is on a universal cycle, though. So if you get there while you're on first cycle, then you should be able to take it out no problem. Second cycle is a little bit tougher when it comes to the bomb placement and timing. But once we make it through that platform section, which is pretty self-explanatory, we're going to make it around here. Once we get around here, we're going to make it to this little hallway with these gun things that are here conveniently for us. Normally what the game wants you to do is take out all four so that you make a stairs for yourself, but all we have to do is take out 3. From here, what we want to do is we want to target the first 2. So there's just those 2. And then what you can do is you can target the one that's on the bottom. Make sure you're targeting both the top and the bottom so that you blow it up. But while you're doing that, you want to jump to the left of where the one that's on top of that would fall down and immediately jump. That way we just jump straight past it. Though no worries if you don't use that strat, it's okay. It's just there for you to make sure that you make the cycles just in case you're a little slower in other parts. So from here we have another carousel jump. All we want to do is jump on top of this. Just like that. Okay. So now this upcoming jump to save a little bit of time is 2 frames. So I don't really know what else to say here other than make sure you're practicing the timing. You'll have my input display plus the slowdown feature to make sure that you get this okay and you can see what you're supposed to do. But I'll compare the two. This is without the jump. You land down here. And then what you would want to do from here, so that you're not waiting by going around over here and knocking these 2 dynamite packs off and then going all the way around. You can just break this and then jump on here and then just take out the towers like this. But here's what you're supposed to do with the jump. As soon as you land on that thing, you jump and it puts you here. So that way it skips, you know, using that gun capsule to jump up here in the first place. From here, what you want to do is you want to take out both the top tower and the bottom tower here, or the middle tower. And then as the tower is falling on top of you, you can jump to the right so that you don't get hurt by it. But if you do, it's no biggie. We have to wait for this to come down. I want to say about here, when this platform is rising, as it's approaching that line, you can start running forward and jumping. Then there you go. Yes. So now we're going to have to talk about sand walking. Sand walking is one of the harder tricks in Dark Story. I wouldn't bother doing this until you really need the time save. You can get some extremely good times with sand walking, talking all the way down to the 120s or sub 130s. But the strategies I'm going to show you should get you consistent 138s, 139s, 137s, somewhere around there. And I'm actually going to show you a few methods of doing this, so you can pick out which one is most comfortable to you, and how to react depending on what frame you are at. How the trick works is in this game, when you touch the sand, you don't die immediately, but eventually the quicksand does get to you. And also, when you hit a balloon in this game, you bounce up. So what you want to do is you want to have the bullet hit the balloon on the same frame that you fall into the sand. We have a couple ways to set this up, and we have visual cues to make it consistent, though it's going to require pause advancing. If you don't know what pause advancing is, it's where you pause, unpause with A, and pause again immediately. So yeah, I'm going by like 1 or 2 frames. I'm actually pretty bad at it, but I suggest using your right bumper and mapping that as your start button. That way it makes it a lot easier to do the pause advancing. And you should be able to move forward by 1 or 2 frames. So right off the bat, what we're going to want to do here is make the first jump just like that. I highly recommend staying along the white line. If you hit this, then it's over. But you want to stay relatively close. When you're running through here, you have to... It's like mostly right on the input, but a little bit down. So that way you clip this, basically. So you go past it, but you don't get stuck on it. Because you want to stay as close to here as possible. And this angle does bring you a little bit to the right, like kind of like this once you fall off, which is what you want. So there's actually a balloon down there. That's the one that we want to shoot. See how as I entered the sand there, I kind of popped myself up? Alright, so once we're at this phase, we want to keep holding right and pause advance. What I like to do is, do you see Eggman's gun in the front? We want to line this up so it's right behind this gun flagpole. That's the visual cue that I use. So this is a little bit too far because I didn't pause advance right. So if I try this, I think I'm going to be a little bit late. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to As soon as I unpause, I'm going to hit B, and then I'm going to keep holding right. Okay, that was actually fine. So for that frame that I just did right there, you want to keep holding right. You don't want to do anything else on the analog stick except for hold right. But you have to make sure you get a first frame shot after unpausing if you're going to use that frame. At this point, what I do is I hold R for a little bit so that the camera turns so I can see what's in front of me, and then I lock the camera with L and R. When we're in this weird state, we can't shoot or do anything. So what the goal is to make it to the other side where the Mystic Melody is, and pick up that upgrade because it's the only thing that's going to get us out of this state. These enemies behind us can't hurt us, but they can sometimes help us by pushing us forward. Depending on the pillar locations in the frame that you got launched up by, you can either go through the middle or around the outside of it so that you don't get touched by the pillars, because you don't want them to hold you back. So at this point, what the goal is we want this guy's bombs to help us downward. Because if not, we won't actually be low enough to get the Mystic Melody power up. And I would say the latest you want to get here at is like 44, 45. And if you do, you want to mash immediately. Alright, so we got it. I'm going to show another example, though, of another frame and what you do. So if you get this frame right here, where this gun is just before the flagpole, what we want to do is we want to hold right until we fall off the platform, and then we turn around. That's what I recommend doing here, and we should get it. Just like that. We're just a little bit behind the flagpole, and then we turned around after we fell off the platform. When we do this, we kind of want to go to the right side of this enemy, because that's where we're most likely going to get the bomb drop. Need 2 this time. And we made it here at 41, so that's pretty good. You would normally want to mash as fast as you can there, especially if you get here later, but then we just use the Mystic Melody and jump right in. From here, we can go to the end of the level. But you have to be really quick here to make sure you make this 0 cycle, they call it. Just like this. Then we can just walk across these platforms after making this jump. We don't have to jump between them because it's 0 cycle. In first cycle, you do. I missed that. That's okay. Oops. So this should be like a 140 or something like that, 141, because of the mistakes I made at the end there. If not, that would have been pretty damn good. So what happens there is while you're sitting on the upgrade, the cycles in the background are still going. So if you get there a little bit earlier, then it's okay to wait before you start mashing forward. While you're sitting on the upgrade, I would say you want to pretend like the timer's at 146. That's when you want to be done mashing. So if you get there at 144, immediately start mashing. If you get there at 142, you can wait a second, then start mashing. It really depends on how comfortable you are. You can get there as early as 38 seconds. It all depends on if you can get a good setup with the robots pushing you or not. If you do, you should be able to get around 38, 39 seconds. then you could sit on the upgrade and wait just a little bit longer. You kind of have to feel it out and know what's most comfortable for you. But I hope those visual cues were good for you. I know some people like to use the Chao symbol on the floor instead of the flagpole, but I find the flagpole to be more reliable. And if you're not getting it with everything that I'm telling you to do, then make sure that you're shooting right after you unpause. If you shoot later, then maybe you might want to try a visual cue that's a little bit before the flagpole. And if you shoot faster, then you can do it where I showed you, essentially. I'll do an example of first cycle now. Okay, so there you go. That wasn't the cleanest first cycle in the world, but it was still a 150, so we'll take it. But yeah, guys, that's going to do it for me. I hope that I showed you a good amount of how to speedrun Sand Ocean. I tried to focus on first cycle, but then show you what to do if you fall behind to second or third cycle and how you can counter that in the future. I also wanted to go over sand walking, like I said. I think the tutorial was in-depth enough to teach you exactly what you need to do, but still beginner-friendly enough to the point where you're going to understand all of it. You know, I tried to go through it with you. And sandwalking is not an easy trick either, so if you can't get it, you know, again, it shouldn't be a focus until you really need the time save in your dark run. Sorry this one took a little bit longer to get out to you guys. This stage is really tough. Every time something goes wrong, you kind of have to reset for the cycles, so that's a pain in the tutorial, but you know what? We got it out for you guys. Remember to follow me on Twitch, like the video, subscribe, do whatever you can, join my community Discord, join the Sonic Adventure 2 community Discord, you know, we're both waiting for you there, just trying to teach you some stuff and hang out. We're a fun community. And yeah, that's gonna do it for me.